What's up, YouTube, and welcome back to Berger Writes. I am Aaron John Steinberger, an aspiring speculative fiction author, and today we're going to talk about character, specifically what it means to make a relatable character. Now, I have a 5-step survey that I ask my characters that I'm going to walk through with you guys. It is a ripoffs and also expansion on Jim Moore, the go-to guy, famous Seattle sports radio personality. 5 questions that he asks every single one of his interviewees, and to determine if they're a likable guy, or if they're a relatable girl, or if they're somebody who he would want to have his kids look up to. So we're going to run them through that, and I'm going to give some specific examples from famous characters from some of my favorite franchises. The first question that I run my characters through is, where are they from? Now, a character's origin can tell you a lot about them. It can tell you about the biases that they have, what regionalisms they may or may not adhere to. We often find that characters in fiction come from rural origins. People like Luke Skywalker or Frodo Baggins or Son Goku all come from a rural part of their respective universes. Now, why is that? It is because the authors or the creators themselves probably came from a rural environment, but also it helps connect the audience. The hustle and bustle of the city, while it is relatable to some, most of our history as a species, we have not lived in cities. Now, that may change, and you get characters like Spider-Man or Captain Benjamin Sisko, who are from larger cities, and that still makes them relatable because they're from New York or New Orleans, and those two cities offer you a sense of place and are a character almost all their own. So it's almost like the place is also a third parent. The next question is, do they have a family? Now, families are important because, I don't know about you, but most of us have families and come from parents and have siblings and aunts and uncles and things like that. And even those that do not have a close relationship with their family or have other situations that they're raised in still oftentimes create an environment around them which is much like family. You look at things like the Guardians of the Galaxy films, Peter Quill, Gamora, Drax, Rocket Raccoon, Groot, Mantis, etc. create their own sense of family and create a family by proxy, versus things like Supernatural. You have a actual family unit, but even that grows and goes beyond just the Winchesters. So it is important for readers to understand what the relationships are that your characters have and how those grow and how those evolve and how those change. And why it's important to ask this question is, I guess it's not only just do they have a family, but also who do they consider family? The next question I typically like to ask is, do they have dogs or do they like dogs? Now, as someone who lives in a house with multiple dogs, I can tell you that it is very relatable for a character to both have and like dogs. You guys remember that hubbub about Jon Snow not petting Ghost at the end of Game of Thrones Season 8? Well, that is obviously very relatable. It is difficult for us as people not to empathize with dogs. That's why there's the kick the dog, pet the dog trope to see if they're a good person or a bad person. And this is essentially that trope just codified into a thing. It could be more interesting if a character doesn't like dogs, perhaps because of past trauma, or maybe they're allergic, or whatever the reason is. And that could give you a lot more ammunition for your characterization. But personally, I feel like if a character is going to be relatable, they have to at least be receptive to dogs. The next question I like to ask is, what is their favorite drink to unwind? For some it might be beer, for some it might be wine, for others it might be coffee or tea, or even others it might just be a long, cool drink of water. Now, we see this in fiction in places like Star Trek The Next Generation with Captain Picard and his tea Earl Grey hot, or the TV sitcom Frasier Crane and Niles, both like an evening nightcap of sherry. And this tells us a lot about those folks versus in the same Star Trek universe, someone like Miles O'Brien typically drinks his synthale, and in Cheers, Sam Malone typically likes a beer. This gets coded in with some classism and some other or socioeconomic things, but it can be a really great way to showcase who your character is both in the world and also who they are in respect to other characters. Now, other characters may enjoy different things, but the fact that they enjoy those things and maybe can do it together in the same environment might tell you something about how your world is constructed or how the world at large works. Number 5, and the final question, is who did the character admire as a kid and who were their heroes growing up? Now, who we look up to and who we admire is very important. Those formative years and our heroes are people that shape our lives even well into adulthood. Now, some fictional examples are people like Trunks from the Dragon Ball universe. He idolized Gohan as a kid, but also Goku and his own father, Vegeta, Piccolo, the Z Fighters, and his meeting of them probably, well, we don't really see that much in the manga or too much in the anime, but luckily Team 4-Star has our back, and we don't really go into it too much, but his meeting of those people changes how he views them, I believe. Also, you have someone like Troy Barnes from Community and his meeting of LeVar Burton and how that goes. He always idolized LeVar Burton as a positive role model from reading Rainbow to Star Trek The Next Generation. And then when he meets him while his friend is on his deathbed, he shuts down. So that can expose our characters when they meet their heroes, or even just telling us who they are, who they idolize, what their values are, can be extremely important. In Trunks, we see that he values heroism and laying your life down on the line for the greater good. And we also see through Troy Barnes that he values intelligence, compassion, and being able to read. But when those two young men meet their heroes, they find that they are dissatisfied or cannot cope with those realities, and those are some really fun things to expose our characters to. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that exploration of my 5-question method for creating more relatable characters. I've had it for a few years now, and it works out pretty well for me. If you think it's all straight bovine feces, then please leave a comment down below. And if you like what I'm doing here, then please like, share, and subscribe my channel and this video. I hope you all have a great evening or morning or afternoon or whatever it is in your part of the world, and go out there, have fun, and write well.